I call on Government Order of the Day.
Adjourn debate on the Prime Minister's statement and the amendment proposed thereto.
Honourable Anne Tolley.
It's a pleasure to stand and speak in the House today to our Prime Minister's excellent statement. And he's quite right when he says that New Zealand is in good shape and that it's getting better, Mr. Speaker. And look, actually New Zealanders know that. When you go out and you talk to them, as we all did during the election campaign last year, people knew that we were certainly working towards a brighter future for all New Zealanders, and they gave this government and our coalition partners a mandate to get on with the job. We have to acknowledge in all of this that New Zealanders have shown extremely good resilience throughout the years of the recession. It makes you very proud to be a Kiwi. We're the sort of people that when the going gets tough, we roll up our sleeves and we just get on with it. And that's what this government has done. We've provided good, stable leadership over the last 6 years, and we have an outstanding Prime Minister that New Zealanders know is in touch with what they're thinking, understands the difficulties that they're having, and is showing that strong leadership throughout these very difficult years. Now, during his statement, the Prime Minister said that this government was, and I quote, focused on improving the drivers of long-term performance. And so for those of us working in the social sector, that means quality education for all New Zealanders. It means high and good health for all New Zealanders, and it means employment, and it means independence from the state for all New Zealanders. So the results, when you look back over the past few years from the MSD, have been absolutely excellent. They have worked tremendously well with our community and produced some very, very good results. So sole parents, we see the lowest number on benefits in 22 years. And I have to compliment my colleague, the Minister Paula Bennett, who for 6 years worked away at making sure the systems were in place to support those solo parents back into work, make sure that their children were well looked after, and convincing ministers of education to invest in early childhood education, and also that after-school care that is so important when we're trying to talk to parents about how they go back into work. So the lowest number of solo parents on benefit for 22 years. Every week in this country, every single week, 1,600 people move off a benefit and into work. That's an outstanding achievement, right when you consider the deep, dark days of the recession. There are 80,000 more people in work today than there were 12 months ago. 80,000 people are out there working that a year ago were not in jobs, were looking for work. And again, that's not happened without a great deal of effort, both from employers need to have some credit for that. Government needs to take some credit for that, but certainly the people working in work and income need to be given a great deal of credit for the work that they have done. So this country is now seeing 217,000 more people working than there were 5 years ago at the height of the recession. That's an enormous achievement for any government. And we're seeing unemployment now at 5.7% in December, which is lower than most of the other countries that we compare ourselves with, and in particular as we look across the Tasman at our fellow Australian government and coping with unemployment up in the 6%. If you want to talk about young people, we have put a tremendous amount of focus on supporting young people. They're always the first ones affected by any recession. So that youth service that we put into place, that pipeline managing those young people aged 16 to 18 that are dropping out of school and waiting around to go onto a benefit. We see 40% more of those today in education and training than there were 3 years ago before we started the youth service. 40% more back in education and in some form of training, and that means their chances of ending up on a benefit at age 20 have dramatically reduced. They will have skills and qualifications that will help them into work. So that's some tremendous work that has been done, but we're not resting on our laurels. This government knows the research, the evidence is very clear, and this government believes that people are better off in work. They are better off supporting themselves and their families, and so we're helping them into work. But this isn't a new idea, actually. It was quite interesting and talking to a couple of other countries about how they were facing the numbers on unemployment benefits, and it was quoted to me that Galen, who was a prominent Greek physician, surgeon and philosopher from 129 AD to 200 AD, said that employment is nature's physician and is essential to human happiness. So this is not a new idea. Actually, it's been around for a long time. And this government, of course, hasn't come up with this as a new idea. The evidence is very clear that if you have people supporting themselves and their families, they feel better about themselves, they're in better health, and of course we know that that enables their children to live a better and much more successful life. So this government is focused then on continuing to support people off the benefit and into employment. And this year we have a great deal more to do to support that, building on those early results. So we're not going to rest on our laurels, there's always more to do. First of all, we're going to look at extending those youth services that we put in place to support the 16 to 18-year-olds. We're going to look at how we can extend those to support the 18 and 19-year-olds, probably those at risk, and we know that we have the criteria for identifying those, but how can we support them into education? I'm always a strong believer that we've got to get them those skills and qualifications, otherwise they circle round on the benefit. But if that doesn't suit them, how do we help them and support them into work? At the end of December, the December quarter, we had about 55,000 people in the job seeker but with health condition and disability benefit section. 55,000 people who should be able to be out there looking for work, but because they have a health condition or a disability, they have been unable to do so. It's not a long-term condition. So we are working very closely with health to see, we will be working very closely with health over this year to see how we can address their health conditions earlier so that they're able to get back into work. B, we're going to look at how we can address their mental health conditions much more effectively. That's a growing area that employers have made us aware of, and we will be working to help them back into work faster and with better support. Mr. Speaker, I couldn't possibly be talking today about the year's plan if I didn't talk about our vulnerable children. 20-odd thousand vulnerable children we identified as part of the Children's Action Plan, the bill that we passed last year. So we've got 2 children's teams have been going for over a year now, one in Rotorua, one in Whangarei. Well, this year we've opened Horowhenua, Otaki and Marlborough, and by the end of this year we'll have Hamilton, Tairāwhiti, Wanganui, Eastern Bay of Plenty, Clendon, Manurewa, Papakura and Christchurch up and running. We are targeting about 20,000 children who are classified as at risk to prevent them going into state care. And Mr. Speaker, while I talk about state care, we are undergoing a major review of child, youth and family, a major review. These are children that are victims of some horrendous neglect, abuse and crime, and they are victims in our society. They figure too highly in all our stats around prison, around poor education results, and we as the state owe them a better set of outcomes. And so the focus for this year in child, youth and family is how we achieve that. Mr. Speaker, I went overseas recently to look at how other countries are dealing with this and was surprised to see we're talking 17 to 18 for the age that the state takes care of children. Actually, in Europe, they're talking 23 to 25. We have a lot of work to do around how we get the voice of the child into that process, and Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to be able to lead some of that work this year. This is an excellent statement from our Prime Minister, and I commend it to the House.